Okay, so I want to tell you a little story about microphones. If you know who I am, I'm Martine Wilson, and I'm putting together this studio on a budget, but I want it to be able to put out content that looks good enough for all of my paid work that's outside of YouTube. And if I build up a following along the way, then that's awesome. So hit like, hit subscribe, you know what to do. Anyway, one of the first things that I did to get my studio put together was to buy a microphone, because for me, the type of content that I do, the most important thing is that I have really nice, clean, punchy audio that adds a little bit more authority to what it is that I'm saying. So I went out and I searched and searched and searched, and then I actually have a couple friends that are videographers, and both of them suggested I buy the same mic, which was the Hollyland Lark 150. And it's a really cool mic because basically what it is a receiver that you connect to your camera, and then it has two transmitters that send to the camera. So it's a completely wireless microphone system that you can connect a lavalier, like just like this. This is a lavalier microphone, if you don't know what that is. So you can be pretty out of sight and then be connected to your camera wirelessly, and it takes pretty good footage. And it works really well for the type of stuff that I want to do, because I also want to be able to do not only just me talking into a camera stuff, but I'm also going to do interviews, hopefully. A little foreshadowing, I'm going to be doing interviews very soon, hopefully. So everything was great. The problem is I hooked up one of the transmitters, so it's not this is a different one. So this is going to end up being, look at that. Wow, it really picks up my eye quickly. This is the new one that I'm going to be talking about, but it was something similar to this. And I hooked it up, and it worked great for 5 minutes, and then it started giving me this very horrible, crinkly, like sound, the kind of sound that if you know anything about audio, it's like when you have a bad cable or a bad connection. It's that sort of electric sounding, like zap, zap, that really just kills your audio. It makes it unusable. You can't use a filter to get rid of it. You can't, it's not like a background noise thing that sometimes you can deal with in different ways. It just kills your audio. The problem is that didn't happen every single time. But because it happens some of the time, I can't trust that microphone, because if I'm going to be recording an interview with another person, then I can't have a microphone that I'm not 100% sure about, because I'm not going to have an opportunity to record with that person again. If I have bad audio, that's going to kill the whole thing, and it's going to be unusable, and then I'm going to have to tell that person who maybe even traveled to come sit with me that we couldn't use their audio because I had a bad mic. Guess who loves to hear that message? I think you can guess who loves to hear that message. Okay, so I had, this is a problem. The thing with that mic is it was a 209 euros, which is I think in the States are about 220 bucks, maybe even a little bit less, which for the capability that you're getting out of that mic, that is an incredible price. If you think about the history, well, you probably don't think about it. If you know about the history of sort of wireless microphones and what they've cost in the past, they were like $1,000, and you get like a single mic. They would be very high quality, but they were really, really, really expensive. So anyway, I had to send it back. I had to send back the Hollyland Lark 150 because I just couldn't trust it anymore. And now I have this. It's the Comica. Let's see if it'll come on. There you go. There you go. The Comica Book X-D Pro, I think. And I'm hoping that this mic is going to work out a lot better. It's very similar. It's two of these transmitters going into a receiver that's hooked up to my camera. There's one big difference. If you see that orange button, if I can get it to focus, look at that orange button. It records. So it records directly onto the transmitter, which is really cool. If you have any problems with your connection, your wireless connection, everything is fine because you can save everything on this thing. And it does basically the same thing. It's got this lavalier that you can see here, and I can record an interview with it, no problem. I don't like the way this charges as much as the Hollyland, because the way the Hollyland worked is it had a case that you could charge the whole thing in. This thing just comes with this normal case, and you have to plug each individual thing into a USB-C port, which, that's fine, whatever. But the lesson is that, when you're trying to keep a budget, sometimes you're going to get a dud, and sometimes that dud is going to cause you to think. And I'm having a little bit of trust issues with all of these mics. This one was also $200. So it's about the same price point, it has about the same capabilities. On the surface of it, I actually like this one a little bit less just because it doesn't have that charging case. There's things about I don't know, just doesn't feel quite as solid as the Hollyland Lark. The Hollyland Lark 150 felt very solid, but I know deep down inside that there's like hundreds of these. If you look around for these wireless mics with 2 transmitters these days, I don't know. I did research. I found, let's see, God, there are the 2 big ones. There's the Rode Wireless Go 2. There's the DJI, the people that make the drones, the DJI Mic 2. Then there's one called the Pico Mic 2, which I almost bought, but I didn't like some things about it. There was one called the Hollyland Max, so that's the same company, but a different one. Small rig. For a Villa, then you start to get into these like slightly more generic-y sounding ones. There's like Synco, something like that. There's just hundreds of these little clones, and all of them are in like a similar price point, or some of them are even cheaper than this, and then some are even more expensive. But I'm trying to avoid going after the 2 big ones, the DJI and the Rode Wireless. I actually would only go for the Rode Wireless Pro at this point, but they're like $400, which is twice the price of one of these guys. So I bought this, and I'm praying that this is going to work for me. But the lesson is that trying to keep the budget down means that some of the time you're going to get something that you don't trust, and something that you can't really, when you're making content, when I'm doing it face to face with you guys like this, I'm not worried about anything because I know that I can just stop and start again. But when I'm working with somebody that I've invited, it makes me really nervous if I have one of these really cheap microphones that I don't feel that I can trust. So I think that what I'm trying to say is that as you go through this journey, you're going to have to sometimes make choices about where you want to spend money. And I spent money on my light, and I spent money on my camera, and I went cheap on my microphone. And I'm going to stick with that choice for now because it's obviously that same choice. So I'm hoping that lightning doesn't strike twice. But I'm not totally confident that I'm ever going to be able to get the results that I really want out of these really cheap microphones. So what you should do is think about how much value does a good microphone add to your kit. And maybe you should go a different route than what I did. If you're not going to do interviews, if you're not going to record with 2 people, I think you should probably stick to a wired solution because you can get really cheap mics from Deity. Deity makes pretty good wired mics, and so does Rode. And if you get a wired mic, it's going to remove a lot of the possible issues that you have that are generally coming from the hardware, because these little things, they have to do a lot of stuff. They have to record, they have to transmit, they have to receive, they have to send to the camera. There's many different sort of like connections in this chain, and maybe what I did was made the wrong choice for single speaker stuff, but I need to be able to record interviews. So I don't know, I'm rambling. I think that that's all I've got. Just don't think that any one of these, low-cost wireless mics is going to be that much better than any others, unless you go for the 2 much more expensive, maybe $400 or more versions, which are from DJI and Rode. So that's all I got.